everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb, where a high school astronomy teacher tells you what you're looking at, why it's so cool, and what you should check out later this month at night. This is February of 2019. Don't forget to check out this as a podcast on podbean.com, mrwebb.podbean.com. And check out my YouTube channel, Mr. Webb PV, and also my Twitter feed, at Mr. Webb PV. Also get this on Stitcher and iTunes. Anyway, February 2019, we have a great morning lineup in the beginning of the month, a conjunction in the middle of the month. We have all the naked eye planets at some point visible in the month, the winter constellations, and a great lineup of planets ending the month as well. So it's making February a great month for naked eye astronomy. So with that, I hope you've been getting out in the mornings and seeing Venus and Jupiter out there. I've been catching a bunch of pictures, and you can get pictures just like this by going out in the morning at the beginning, or actually throughout the month, but especially in the beginning and the end of the month. Looking really good in the mornings. And yeah, I hope you saw the eclipse. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was really quite remarkable. I have some other videos on YouTube. I have 2 time lapses, actually 3 time lapses, I think, all together. Looking really good. It was a great time. But anyway, let's get back to February and let's talk about the planets. All right, let's start with the sunset planets. As you can see, it's the beginning of February, and we are close to sunset. Let's go a little bit past sunset, and you will see off in the southwest, Mars way up there. Now, throughout the month, that's going to start very high, and then as the night goes on, it'll set around 11 p.m. So you can see that most of the night before most people go to bed. But let me back up a little bit. And let's go forward a little. Oh, look what pops up. Mercury. There we go. Basically, the last week or two in February, you can see Mercury. Right, there you go. Now, it's going to be low on the horizon. In fact, less than a fist width. That's 10 degrees above the horizon. And, yeah, you might just catch it the last 2 weeks in the west. So, as far as evening planets go, sunset planets, Mars and Mercury at the end of the month. Now, let's zoom back out and see if there are any other planets visible. Well, there's that green ecliptic, and we don't see any. So let's move forward a couple hours and see when something pops up. And, oh, there's Jupiter. Oh, Saturn and Venus. Oh, lots of stuff going on in the morning. So let's go back. Let's go to February 2nd, okay? And let's take a look at this throughout the month. This is your last chance to catch the moon near these planets in the morning. See it right there below Saturn. You might be able to catch it February 2nd. You might need some binoculars to do that. However, let me get back to this. Really, for the first half or so of the month, you've got Saturn very low, but up there and able to be seen. You've got Venus up and to the right of that. Now, Venus is going to be the super duper bright one, the brightest one there. That is going to be easy to see. In fact, you can even see it through some thin clouds sometimes. And then up and to the right of that is Jupiter. Now, watch what happens throughout the month. Here, I'm going to go forward a couple days. And you notice that Saturn keeps getting higher and higher, and Venus is getting lower and lower, and Jupiter's kind of flying away there. All right, let me reset it. You notice Saturn and Venus are getting a little close, okay? And here's what I'll do. Let me bring, because the sun is rising earlier every day now, okay? Let's go February 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. Here you've got Venus and Saturn at a conjunction. All right. So what you see here is Venus and Saturn, and they'll be close together. On the 18th, they will be less than 1 degree apart. So if you hold your pinky at arm's length away from you, the width of your pinky is about as far away as they're going to be. But anyway, Venus and Saturn up there on the morning of the 18th. You notice Jupiter sort of up here by itself. But then each morning you'll notice that, oh, now Venus has passed Saturn, or Saturn has passed Venus, depending on how you look at it. And things get a little tricky from there. And then at the end of the month, you know Venus is the lowest one with Saturn and then Jupiter. Then I'll talk about the moon coming up soon. but not right now. But anyway, so morning planets, you're looking at Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. Just know that Venus is the brightest one, Jupiter is the highest one, and Saturn is the other one. So why is this so cool? Well, the nice thing is that you don't see 3 planets all together like this all too often. Plus, in the morning, you get the sunrise, which gives a nice little color to all of this and a good perspective. And it's just really, really beautiful. So again, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter in the mornings, and Mars and Mercury in the evenings off in the west. So what's going on in February? Well, if you're talking about the moon, you're looking at dark skies for about the first 2 weeks. You've got the new moon on the 4th. That's when you have the darkest skies, and around that time, the crescent moons. The first quarter moon is on the 12th. That's visible until midnight. The right half of it is lit up. After that, you kind of get into the realm where the moon's too bright to do a lot of stargazing, but you've got the full moon on the 19th, and the last quarter moon is on the 26th, and the last quarter is visible from midnight and into the morning. But what about those dates? Well, on February 2nd, you might, as I mentioned before, be able to catch a very thin crescent moon down here with Saturn up and to the right, Venus up and to the right of that, and Jupiter up and to the right of that. But yeah, nothing much happens until February 10th. Now, February 10th, you're going to have to go out after sunset, okay, and take a look at the western sky. And what you'll be able to see is the moon and Mars fairly close together. There they are. In fact, let's fast forward time a bit past sunset. And here you go. You'll see the moon and Mars somewhat close together. In fact, they'll be about 6 degrees apart. And yeah, just looking really pretty up there. Okay. They will set at about 11 p.m. Okay. So there you go, Mars and the moon. And then nothing really happens until about a week later. And it's going to happen in the morning. And so we're going to have to look for Saturn and Venus. And I have already talked about this, but I want to take one more look at it. Saturn and Venus on February 18th will be less than 1 degree apart, and then they will move away from each other. But this is the conjunction. Just get out after 5 a.m., but before 6:30 a.m., and you're looking low in the southeast for Saturn and Venus, really close together. It'll be a great opportunity for some pictures. And yeah, don't forget to check this out. I didn't mention this before, but check it out the couple of days before and after, because they will still be close together, just not as close together. And lastly, for the month, the next exciting thing happens from February 26th to March 3rd. Let me show you what's going on. Okay, take a big look out here, and what you'll see is, wow, that's a pretty good lineup. You've got Venus, you've got Saturn, you've got Jupiter and the moon all lined up. How are you going to see this? Well, anytime after 5 a.m., you'll be able to see all 3 planets lined up. Now, every day, Venus is going to be the brightest and the lowest at the end of this month, right? Starting on the 26th. And every day, Saturn will be in between Venus and Jupiter, but Jupiter will be far off to the right. In fact, I believe Saturn will be about a fist width, about 10 degrees away from Venus, and Jupiter about 2.5 fist widths, or 25 degrees, or if you do this little shaka, whatever that is, 25 degrees. That's what that is, from thumb to pinky, 25 degrees. Anyway, you will see that every day, but the moon will change positions here. So on the 26th, the moon is up and to the right of Jupiter. On the 27th, Jupiter and the moon actually get really close together, about 2 degrees apart. Not so bad. In fact, I should probably zoom in and show you that that's really what photorealistically it would look like. Okay? And then, there we go. What will happen is the moon will travel through and in between Jupiter and Saturn. Okay? Then it'll be really close to Saturn. It'll be a lot more of a crescent moon. Saturn will be to the left of it on March 1st. Then on March 2nd, a nice crescent moon right next to Venus, with Saturn and Jupiter up and to the right. And you might even get March 3rd, you might be able to see a very, very thin crescent moon down here with Venus bright way up here up top. I think that's going to give you some good pictures because you might get some earth shine on the moon, and you'll see this nice thin crescent, and Venus will be super bright. It should be really, really good. But yeah, that's it for the events for February. Let's start talking about some of the constellations. Well, it's wintertime, and now is a good time for the wintertime constellations. So let's start off with Orion, which will be our guidepost for the winter constellations. So first of all, if you take a look up here, Orion will be high in the south. That's that S right there. We're looking south, and you'll find Orion by looking for these 3 belt stars that are almost in a perfectly straight line, and they're surrounded by this almost rectangle that's vertical, right? I like to look at it as the vertical bow tie in the sky. Now, this will be real easy to find because these stars are very bright. They're distinguishable from everything else. And you might even see Betelgeuse up here will have a reddish color to it. And Rigel down here will have a bluish color to it. But anyway, I digress. Let's take a look at Orion and use it as our guidepost, right? So here, take these 3 belt stars right here, okay? Take a little line and start on the left belt star and move to the right belt star, and then keep going about 20 degrees or so, about 2 fist widths held at arm's length. And what you'll notice is that you'll find a bright red star called Aldebaran, okay? And Aldebaran, or Aldebaran, is a nice red star, double star, that is the eye of Taurus the Bull. Taurus the Bull is this V constellation right here. You can extend it all the way up as well to encompass the horns too. But it's a really neat constellation. It's also part of the Hyades cluster, a very open cluster. But there you go. There's Taurus and Orion. But now if you remember that line that you made, extend it just about 10 degrees further, and you'll find a beautiful cluster of stars known as the Pleiades. Now, that doesn't really do it much justice. I think it looks best kind of like that. It's a very small, compact grouping of stars. You can usually see 5, 6, or 7, depending on the variableness of the star, and the one star that's very variable, and also your eyesight. But it's a mini dipper up there. Really, really neat to look at. It's an open cluster, and it's in our Milky Way galaxy. But anyway, it's just really neat to take a look at that. Now, let me take a second and let's go the opposite direction. Let's go from the right belt star down to the left, and you'll find the brightest star in the sky, which is known as Sirius. Sirius is the brightest star because not only is it bright, but it's also fairly close to us. And it makes up the dog constellation, which is Canis Major. Real quick, you can also take a look up above Orion and find Gemini and Auriga right up above it as well. But I'll go into a little more detail next month about those. But if you are looking straight up, let's say before bed. So let's move forward a little bit. Let's go like 10 o'clock. You should be able to see Gemini and Auriga up there as the 2 constellations that are straight up above you. The Auriga is kind of like a pentagon type shape, and Gemini has the twins here with the 2 bright stars, Pollux and Castor, the twin head stars up top there. But anyway, that's right before bed. And if I were to look before work, let's say that's, I don't know, 5 a.m., maybe 6 a.m., what I would be looking for is Leo the Lion. Now, Leo the Lion is not going to be a morning constellation for a little while longer, but you can see very easily, you can see the backward question mark and the right triangle. But the cool part about this is right above it and up to the right a little bit, you will see the Big Dipper, and this is just really, really beautiful to find. It's fairly high in the sky, so it's relatively bright compared to the horizon. But that's what I would look at in the mornings, as well as maybe you can find Scorpius if you're taking pictures of Venus and Saturn, and then maybe you can get some pictures of Scorpius and Sagittarius, but it's kind of past their prime right now. But anyway, that is what's going on for February of 2019. Get out there in the mornings and check out Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter. Even if you're just driving and taking a quick glance, take a look. Have some fun. Get out there, endure the cold, and I'd like to wish you very clear, dark skies for the month of February.